Thank you. We're going to resume now with general questions. Question number 1, James Dornan.
To ask the Scottish Government how it plans to promote the new Job Start payments to young people.
Cabinet Secretary Shirley-Anne Somerville.
We are committed to ensuring that everyone who is eligible for financial support receives it. Social Security Scotland has developed a strategic communications plan to promote Job Start payment to potential applicants and those who advise and support them. The plan builds on lessons learned from the successful introduction of our 7 current benefits and our benefit take-up strategy. Our principle of social security being an investment in people means we will continue to actively promote the benefits we deliver.
James Dornan.
Thank you, Presiding Officer. Thank you, Cabinet Secretary, for that response. I wonder if you've got any suggestions about what more the DWP could do to promote and signpost Scotland's security benefits through their channels in Scotland, such as job centres.
Cabinet Secretary.
Well, I do believe the DWP could do a lot more to promote all social security benefits, whether that's reserved or devolved. The difference in our approach of this government and the UK government is that we want people to get that financial support they're eligible for, and we genuinely encourage that take-up. I do very much hope that DWP will support us in promoting and signposting Scottish benefits, and a clear case in point would be job centres encouraging potential applicants to contact Social Security Scotland to see if they're eligible. And that's particularly the case for the Job Start payment, where they will be meeting the young people face to face and working with them. And I would like and hope that the DWP would work with the Scottish Government to support those young people into employment.
Thank you. Question 2, Fulton McGregor.
Presiding Officer, to ask the Scottish Government whether it will provide an update on the plans for a new state-of-the-art university hospital in Monklands.
Cabinet Secretary Jean Freeman.
In response to the first recommendation of the independent review, the Monklands Replacement Oversight Board has been established, and its current focus is to identify all potential sites, in addition to Gartcosh and Glen Mavis, for the location of the new state-of-the-art University Hospital Monklands. The board has asked members of the public to respond by the 13th of December, once all suggestions have been checked, to ensure that they comply with the 5 essential criteria. A site selection appraisal will be undertaken and a preferred option will be chosen. Members of the public are encouraged to take part in and contribute to this process.
Fulton McGregor.
I thank the Cabinet Secretary for that response. Would it be fair to say then that information being distributed around my constituency suggesting the Monklands is to close is blatantly misleading? And would the Cabinet Secretary confirm to me, again for the absolute avoidance of any doubt, that the party that saved the hospital from the Labour government when they tried to close out A&E back in 2007, that the future of Monklands Hospital will always be safe in the hands of this SNP government?
Cabinet Secretary.
I'm grateful to Mr McGregor for his supplementary question. Let me remind him and everyone else in this chamber what the First Minister said on the 27th of June. There is an absolute commitment on the part of this government to see a replacement for Monklands Hospital built, which incidentally and importantly will include A&E services. I have seen some of the information that is circulating. It is, of course, entirely false in its premise and in what it suggests. I have absolutely no doubt that the good citizens of Coatbridge, Christton and Bells Hill will not be fooled by the notion that the party that actually wanted to close A&E at Monklands Hospital now claims that it wants to save it, and will indeed trust this government, which saved the A&E at Monklands, to continue to support a replacement hospital for Monklands that includes an A&E, and I hope that assists Mr McGregor in reassuring his constituents.
Question number 3, Gordon MacDonald.
To ask the Scottish Government for what reason fair trade road signs are deemed not appropriate because of their advertising nature when tourist information road signs promoting private businesses are allowed.
Cabinet Secretary Michael Matheson.
Presiding Officer, the primary purpose of tourist signs is to provide clear and consistent directions to drivers, enabling them to reach their destination safely. They are not provided to advertise or market the tourist destination. While the Fair Trade campaign is well recognised and the initiative is to be commended, Fair Trade is a recognised global brand which is promoting a commercial interest. As such, they are not considered suitable for inclusion in traffic signs and fall to be considered under advertisements through the planning process.
Gordon MacDonald.
I thank the Cabinet Secretary for that answer. Balerno in my constituency attained Fair Trade Village status in 2013 and has been trying to promote this achievement for the last 6 years. Edinburgh Council state that the fair trade signage cannot be erected, yet the same council has similar signage on the A71 at the Edinburgh boundary. What advice or assistance can the Cabinet Secretary provide in order that Balerno gets the recognition it deserves as a fair trade village?
Cabinet Secretary.
Presiding Officer, Edinburgh City Council as a planning authority has the power to approve planning applications for fair trade signs in Balerno if there was an application to be made for such a sign to be installed. So as it stands at the present moment, the Council have the power and the capability to make provision for a fair trade sign to be provided in Balerno. And any decision to provide one would be a matter which rests with the regulatory authority, which is Edinburgh City Council.
Question number 4, Michelle Ballantyne.
Is it on? To ask the Scottish Government what action it is taking in response to reports of increased levels of fatty acid methyl ester in diesel causing problems with farm machinery.
Cabinet Secretary Michael Matheson.
The serious impacts of recent issues Scottish farmers have faced with gas oil fuel could be deeply damaging for the industry and communities across rural Scotland, particularly during the winter months. As relevant fuel legislation is reserved to the UK Government, I have taken the matter up with the UK Transport Secretary, pressing for maximum effort towards a workable long-term solution, allowing continued carbon reduction emissions, but also at the same time making sure progress is made with this particular issue. My officials have continued to work closely with the Department of Transport and Grangemouth operators, Petroineos, to fully understand the issues and the most effective solution. And I welcome Petroineos' decision to change the fuel blend to help ensure no further operational issues.
Michelle Ballantyne.
I thank the Cabinet Secretary for the answer, and I do recognise that this is quite a reserved matter. However, I recently met with farmers and representatives of NFU Scotland who are extremely worried about the issues with red diesel, with the recent figures suggesting that over 380 farmers have reported machinery failure, which in turn seriously hampers their ability to harvest crops and feed livestock, not to mention the repair costs, which are escalating. But I wanted to ask the Cabinet Secretary, will he consider launching a long-term expert working group in Scotland to undertake an investigation into the situation and to help advise and deliver those long-term solutions to this very serious problem?
Cabinet Secretary.
Well, Presiding Officer, the member is correct. This is a reserved matter. It relates to the renewable transport fuel obligation, which is mandated by the UK Government, the specifications which are also set by the UK Government within the Department of Transport. And it's important that we do get to the root cause of this particular issue. As I've already set out, Petroineos in Scotland have already taken proactive action, although there have been instances of this difficulty being experienced in other parts of the UK. Transport Scotland officials are directly engaged with the Department of Transport on this issue in order to press the UK Government to identify a long-term solution to this particular matter. The group which is now considering this issue within the Department of Transport, I understand, is intending to undertake survey work with the NFU and with the NFUS in order to identify the extent and the nature of the problem in order to assist it in identifying what further measures need to be taken to achieve a long-term solution. So I can assure the member we will continue to press the UK Government to take early and swift action on this issue, given the potentially serious implications it could have for the farming sector in Scotland.
Thank you. Question 5, Ruth Maguire.
Thank you. To ask the Scottish Government what action it's taken to address fuel poverty in North Ayrshire.
Minister Kevin Stewart.
Thank you, Presiding Officer. We are committed to tackling fuel poverty across Scotland. The Fuel Poverty Targets Definition and Strategy Scotland Act, which Parliament passed unanimously earlier this year, sets out statutory targets for reducing fuel poverty by 2040 at both a national and a local authority level. We'll be publishing our strategy next September, setting out how we intend to meet these targets. In the meantime, though, we're already investing significantly in tackling fuel poverty. We're on track to deliver our commitment to make £500 million available over the 4 years to 2021 to tackle fuel poverty and improve energy efficiency. And this is being delivered through our home energy efficiency programmes for Scotland, including our area-based schemes, which are delivered in conjunction with local authorities. And in North Ayrshire, over 2,000 households have benefited from more than £10 million worth of investment since that scheme began.
Ruth Maguire.
I thank the Minister for that answer. The Minister will have received my letter highlighting some concerns raised by constituents in Burtree Hill around energy efficiency work carried out by the local housing association. One household have reported that cavity wall insulation has been removed and not replaced. It's proving challenging to get a resolution to this between the housing association and the contractor. Can the Minister provide advice or assistance that will help me ensure my elderly constituents are not left in cold, uninsulated houses this winter?
Minister.
Thank you, Presiding Officer. I'm aware of the case that Ms Maguire refers to, and I'm very sorry to hear of the constituents' concerns about the energy efficiency improvements being made to a neighbouring property. For now, I'll say that my understanding that this work has been commissioned by a local housing association for one of the properties. I'm not aware of funding being provided by the Scottish Government through our HEAPS area-based schemes or any other channel. I will write in more depth to Ms Maguire on this issue, and I hope that this matter can be resolved by the Housing Association as soon as possible.
Jamie Green.
Thank you, Presiding Officer. Energy efficiency is an important matter to consider in this. Can I ask how many homes in North Ayrshire have benefited from improved insulation as a direct result of government intervention, and if there are plans to increase that percentage?
I don't have numbers to hand, and I'll write to Mr Green in more depth, but what I can say is that over 2,000 households in North Ayrshire have benefited through our HEAPS ABS scheme, which often includes insulation works. Beyond that, a further 500 households in North Ayrshire have benefited from our Warmer Homes Scotland scheme, which is focused on helping the most vulnerable households in our society.
Thank you. Question 6 has been withdrawn. Question 7, Donald Cameron.
To ask the Scottish Government whether 100% of homes and businesses in the Highlands and Islands will be able to access superfast broadband by 2021.
Cabinet Secretary Michael Matheson.
We remain committed to meeting our target of 100% superfast coverage and will award the R100 contract as soon as possible. We have now confirmed BT plc as the preferred bidder for our 3 geographical lots, and the procurement process is currently processing as expected. Delivery timescales will be confirmed as soon as is possible once we have the contracts in place.
Donald Cameron.
Last week, the Herald revealed that a Scottish Government procurement document suggests that the delivery of the R100 programme could take as long as 4 or even 5 more years to complete. Given that the Scottish Government has made an explicit commitment to deliver superfast broadband by 2021, will the Minister take the opportunity to apologise to rural communities in the Highlands and Islands for the abject failure of his government to deliver on this promise?
Cabinet Secretary.
Presiding Officer, it is a bit rich listening to the Conservative Party complaining about the provision of digital broadband coverage within Scotland. Given that this is a matter which is solely reserved to the UK Government, had it not been for the actions of this Government stepping in to take on the failure of the Conservative Government at a UK level, we would have not had the very significant increase that we've already achieved in Scotland. Gone from, in 2014, a coverage of 19%, but as a result of the decisive actions of this Government, taking it up to 93% coverage right across the country. That's the actions of a Government that's determined to make sure we get the right type of digital infrastructure here in Scotland. And had we not taken that action, we would have probably still been at 19%, waiting for the Conservative Government in London to do something about it.
Liam MacArthur.
Thank you, Presiding Officer. I can assure the Cabinet Secretary that the level of coverage in Orkney falls far, far short of 93%. So given the Government's earlier commitments to an outside-in approach, will the Cabinet Secretary offer an assurance that if there is any slippage in the delivery of this contract, it will not penalise those communities that have been waiting longest for the delivery of superfast broadband?
Cabinet Secretary.
I'm sure the member will welcome the very decisive action which this Government has taken with the DSSB programme in order to improve coverage right across the country. I can tell them that in 2014, the coverage within the Orton area was at 11.1%. As a result of the actions that have been taken by this government and others, it's now at 65.2%. As a result of these measures, we are seeing significant improvement in digital connectivity. But of course, during their time in the coalition government, the Liberal Democrats had an opportunity to do something about it, and as ever, they failed to do so, which is why this government is taking the actions we are.
Stuart Stevenson.
Given that the UK Government is responsible for internet access, can the Cabinet Secretary confirm that the UK Government's financial contribution to the R100 programme is less than 10% of the overall cost?
Cabinet Secretary.
Presiding Officer, we are investing some £600 million in the R100 programme. I can confirm that it is less than 10% that is being contributed by the UK Government, despite the very fact that this is a reserved area, demonstrating, as ever, when it comes to it, the Tories never put Scotland first, and they always let down the Scottish people when it comes to taking forward the actions which are necessary, which is why we as a government, having spent almost £400 million in the DSSB programme, are putting in another £600 million to pick up the mess that's been left by the Conservative government.
Question number 8.
Thank you, Presiding Officer. To ask the Scottish Government what its position is on establishing a process that will allow adopted persons to have a legal right of emancipation from their adopted parents.
Minister Marie Todd.
In sad circumstances where the relationship between a child and an adoptive parent is considered to have broken down, the adoptive parent continues to have parental responsibilities and rights in relation to the child in the same way as a birth parent with parental responsibilities and rights does if the child-parent relationship breaks down. It's really important that there's a person with parental responsibilities and rights for a child. If a child's relationship with their adoptive parents is broken down, a court already can consider an application to remove parental responsibilities and rights and transfer them to another individual if this is continued to be in the best interest of the child. Of course, parental responsibilities and rights for both adoptive and birth parents only last up to the age of 18.
Emma Harper.
Thank the Minister for that answer. Two of my constituents, Anthony and Joseph Duncalfe, have started a petition to allow adopted children to have the same rights of emancipation as that of children from their biological parents. For a number of reasons. Given this, I would be grateful if the Minister could confirm whether this is something which this is within the legislative competence of the Scottish Parliament, and if so, would she consider meeting with me and Anthony and Joseph to discuss this further?
Minister.
Thank you. As I've said, adoptive parents have full parental responsibilities and rights for their child in the same way that birth parents usually do. And in this sense, whether the child is adopted or not, there's no difference in their ability to sever links with their parents. I'm more than happy to meet with Miss Harper and with Anthony and Joseph Duncalfe to discuss the challenges that they have faced further and to see if there's anything we can do to respond to those challenges.
Thank you. Question number 9, Ross Greer.
The Scottish Government what action it is taking to ensure that young people are properly equipped to protect their workplace rights.
Cabinet Secretary John Swinney.
Presiding Officer, learning about the world of work forms a key part of the school curriculum, with employment rights an important part of career education for young people at school, particularly in the senior phase. We support the Scottish Trade Union Congress Unions into Schools programme, which helps young people understand the importance of workers' rights and the role played by trade unions in the modern workplace, which has delivered 125 classroom sessions since March 2019. Bodies such as ACAS, Citizens Advice Scotland and trade unions can also play an important role in advising young people on their workplace rights.
Ross Greer.
I thank the Cabinet Secretary for that answer, and he's right to credit the STUC for the excellent work that their Unions into Schools programme does, but it only reaches a small number of schools and a very small fraction of school students in Scotland. With zero-hours contracts on the rise, poverty wages and bogus self-employment, could the Cabinet Secretary commit to ensuring that all young people in Scotland, before they leave school, learn not just about employability skills, but about their rights at work as well?
Cabinet Secretary.
As I indicated in the first part of my answers to Mr Greer, these issues about the world of work, about the issues in relation to employment rights are an important part of career education for young people, which we believe is an entitlement of young people through the broad general education and into the senior phase. And there's every opportunity within the curriculum, out with the specific and targeted work of the Unions into Schools programme that the STUC brings forward and which we support for young people to understand these issues. And I'm very happy to reflect on some of these issues as to how we can make sure more and more young people are aware of these questions within the school curriculum.
Thank you very much. And that concludes general questions.